You know that person who laughs at absolutely everything? The one who finds humor in situations that would send most people into a downward spiral. If that sounds familiar, we need to talk. I am not talking about being naturally optimistic. I am talking about the person who gets cut off in traffic and instead of road rage, they wonder if the other driver is just having a tough day. Because when you have survived your own massive storms, a little rain just hits different. If you feel seen right now, comment the number 1 below and keep watching. Because what you think is just a personality quirk is actually a complex biological response. Here is the secret that nobody tells you about people who have endured too much. Their brain literally operates on a completely different frequency. We often look at our own emotional scars or our strange reactions and assume something inside of us is broken. But let me reframe that for you right now, because understanding this changes everything. Your brain is not broken. It is trained. It has been trained by necessity to become a survival masterpiece. When you go through experiences that fundamentally shake your world, your nervous system undergoes a massive software update. You develop what is basically an immunity to life's daily chaos. Now, please do not misunderstand me. I am not saying you are immune to pain. You likely feel things very deeply. I am saying you are immune to being completely demolished by the trivial things that wreck other people. You have learned that survival isn't just possible, it is inevitable. This is why you stay eerily calm when the printer breaks or when plans fall apart at the last second. To the average person, that is a crisis. To you, compared to the storms you have already navigated, that is just Tuesday. Your baseline for what constitutes a disaster has been moved permanently higher. You are still learning how to exist in a world where the threat is no longer real, but your ability to remain standing while others are spiraling is not apathy. It is the result of a brain that has mastered the art of keeping you alive. But then there is the part nobody warns you about. This survival mechanism comes with a hefty price tag. These same people who are calm in a crisis often struggle with something called hyper-vigilance. Essentially, their threat detection system never fully turns off. Have you ever been to a restaurant with someone who absolutely needs to sit with their back to the wall, facing the door? Or maybe you are the person who has 17 backup plans for a simple coffee date just in case things go wrong. If you are still watching this and nodding your head, comment the number 3 below. I want to know that you are still here, passionate about understanding the deepest parts of yourself. See, that behavior is not paranoia. That is a nervous system that learned the hard way that safety is a luxury, not a guarantee. Your body remembers the times when you were caught off guard, and it has made a silent vow to never let that happen again. So, even when you are sitting on your couch in a perfectly safe apartment, your internal engine is still humming. You are constantly scanning the horizon for smoke. You notice the slight shift in a friend's tone. You track the footsteps in the hallway. You are biologically prepared for a war that ended years ago. This is why you might feel exhausted even when you haven't done anything physically demanding. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to be ready for everything, all the time. And this constant state of readiness? It bleeds into your social life, creating one of the most confusing contradictions in human psychology. This leads to a fascinating shift in how you relate to the rest of the human species. You would assume that someone who has been through hell would be cynical, bitter, or closed off. But often, it is the complete opposite. You become aggressively empathetic. Because you have memorized the language of pain fluently, you can spot it in others from a mile away. Most people walk into a room and see furniture. You walk in and see emotional temperature. You notice the slight crack in a colleague's voice. You see the shadow behind a friend's forced smile. You know how to read silence, not just the absence of words, but the texture of it. You sense changes in the atmosphere the way others sense changes in the weather. But here is where the contradiction kicks in. While you are incredible at holding space for others, you are often terrified of letting anyone hold space for you. You will show up for a friend at 3 a.m. without hesitation. But if someone asks you to be vulnerable about your own needs, suddenly you are busier than a one-armed juggler at a circus. Why do you do this? Because historically, closeness came with consequences. When your early experiences taught you that connection can be unpredictable, your nervous system doesn't relax when someone gets close. It braces for impact. Many of you develop a trait called hyper-independence. You learn to need nobody. On the surface, this looks like resilience. But deep down, we both know it is actually a defense mechanism. You have developed an allergy to being perceived as a victim, so you downplay your own struggles constantly. "I'm fine" becomes your mantra, and you convince yourself that admitting you need help is the same thing as admitting defeat. And here is something beautiful that blooms from all this struggle. You often experience what psychologists call post-traumatic growth. Research suggests that a significant number of people who go through trauma do not just bounce back to who they were before. They bounce forward. Your priorities crystallize. Your appreciation for ordinary moments becomes almost comically intense. You will literally tear up at a good sunset, and you are not even embarrassed about it. You have learned that life is fragile, so you try to taste every single moment. And let's talk about the humor. Oh, the humor is next level. It is dark, it is sharp, and it is usually inappropriate. But it is not about being insensitive. It is about taking power away from the pain. When you can laugh at the absurdity of your own suffering, it loses its grip on you. Comedy becomes your armor. Every joke is a tiny rebellion against the things that tried to break you. Now, here is something that might surprise you. You likely have an intense, confusing relationship with control. You will micromanage the smallest details of your life while remaining eerily zen about massive uncertainties. Why? Because you learned long ago that the big stuff is often beyond your control anyway, but the small stuff, that you can manage. So yes, you will have a full-blown existential crisis about which coffee mug to use while remaining totally chill about a major career change. The contradiction is the point. You are a walking paradox. Tough but tender, guarded but generous. You have learned to hold two opposing truths simultaneously, that life can be beautiful and brutal, often in the same breath. But underneath all this strength, there is a quiet grief. You aren't grieving a person. You are grieving the version of yourself that trusted easily, the one who didn't need to check the exits. Yet, this grief doesn't break you. It shapes you. You have become a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't shine because it is perfect. It shines because it stands on the edge of the darkness and refuses to be swallowed by it. So, if you are someone who feels a little too comfortable in the chaos, know that you have earned that wisdom. Your survival became insight. Your pain became compassion. You are not just surviving anymore. You are a living testament to human resilience. That is not just psychology. That is poetry in motion. If this video spoke to your soul, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear this. I will see you in the next deep dive.